Mostly we want you there. We want, we want to have your spirit, and we want to raise the issues, particularly of police attacks and general attacks on gay and lesbian people. And I think this demonstration is a way to do it. I want to introduce Pat Mayer, who is here tonight to tell you basically what his experience was about 4 months ago in October.
I was leaving the house about 9:30, and I was crossing an intersection close to my house, not more than a half mile away. And
you can tell them where it is, because they've done a lot of people there.
West Highland, and the intersection is Clark and Devon. I cross that intersection all the time to get to the post office, whatever, and that evening I was crossing against the light. What happened was I saw a car coming down Ashland going north, and it had stopped on the side of me. I had given it room to pass or make a turn, but it instead had stopped, and there was a car in front, and I was going between the two cars. I noticed somebody, I heard somebody say, you shouldn't be crossing, and I thought nothing of it and went between the two cars to get to the island, and something happened in between where the car was slowly edging towards me as if the guy was taking his foot off the gas. So I flipped him the bird. Then I heard a "fuck you too." As soon as I crossed the intersection to the other side, the car had swerved around and was racing towards me. And it was coming towards my back, and all I could think of was run. So I ran to the other side of the street, into the parking lot of a restaurant and down my alley. And I went to a neighbor's yard and stood in a spotlight that turns on in the yard. And two guys get out of the car, and one of them pulls out a badge, and I couldn't see very well. And then they raced towards me, and the next thing I know, I'm on my stomach, and they're beating me. I'm calling out for help, wondering if anybody will come out and see what's going on and maybe call somebody, or these guys were beating me. And my neighbor came out and saw this whole incident, and a friend of mine came out and saw it also. The next thing I know, I'm being handcuffed. And I hear a lot of noise. I remember bruises and being kicked and slapped and hit. And I'm being handcuffed. And they tell me to get into the car, and I said I wanted a marked cop car. I want a cop car. I didn't know at that moment who they were, really. I was confused. They really didn't state anything before they beat me. I get into the car, and one of them, the one that isn't driving, hits me in the face and is calling me faggot. I hear them saying things like, about sucking their cock or other comments. I was hit 3 times while handcuffed in the car. I'm brought to the station. But when I was going down the alley, I had opened the side door and had fallen on my knees because I saw a marked cop car which I was running towards. They brought me back to the side of the car and were slapping me, or slapped me against the car, rather, while 2 cops were watching. And I didn't know what was going on. That's basically the incident of what happened.
Pat's case, Pat was charged with disorderly conduct, which is common. When the police beat somebody up, they always charge you with something. In his case, it was disorderly conduct. We had a trial last week, and his neighbor came and testified. And she said that she heard some commotion in her backyard. She came out and she opened the door, and I guess the lights go on. and she saw two men beating Pat. And she saw, as they came into the yard, they said to him, "You fucking faggot, we'll show you how to walk across the street." And then they jumped on him, and while after being handcuffed, they beat him and they kicked him. And she still didn't know who they were, and she starts yelling, "Who are you?" or "What are you doing? What are you doing?" trying to get their attention. Her dog is barking. And finally, after they've beaten him and handcuffed him, picked him up, then they tell her that they are policemen, and they're in plain clothes. She had no idea. She couldn't believe that they were policemen at that time. She was an eyewitness. She saw this whole thing. The judge still hasn't ruled yet on whether he was disorderly in walking across the street. I think he will rule that he wasn't, because even according to the cops, all he was doing was walking across too slow against a red light. But the two officers involved are one of whom has subsequently been promoted to the rank of sergeant. So these aren't just a couple of young guys. This is a guy who was known for the Devon Avenue police station up there, and he's a sergeant. His name is Cosgrove. The other one is a regular patrolman. The OPS, which is the Internal Investigative Arm, has already talked to Pat, his roommate, and the woman who saw it, and has decided that the charges were not sustained. He believed the word of the police officer in spite of the fact that Pat was beaten, two people saw it, and Pat has pictures of the bruises that were on him. I think this is what we see in L.A. If there hadn't been a tape, I'm sure we'd have that young man charged with resisting arrest, and we'd have the police coming in saying he tried and run, and he fell down on his face. This is very common. I think Pat's story is particularly relevant. The cops continued to harass and attack him and gay bash him in the car to the district station. So I think that's we do intend to raise these issues at the demonstration. We're also interested if people have other experiences of being attacked, because we think there are frequent attacks on gays and lesbians. And we're certainly interested in bringing it to the fore. We think we have a common issue here, because police not only attack people because of racism, but because of homophobia.
I just want to say that I felt like I was singled out in a way that they might have thought I was somebody else. That maybe I might have been a gang member. I was wearing a red bandana on my head, and I thought maybe they had taken me by mistake for somebody else, or somebody they saw in another demonstration, maybe. I don't know. And then when they found out that I wasn't who they believed I was, they got even angrier at me, and they really took it out on me, I have to say. And it just happens within my own neighborhood, and I have to walk through that intersection every day and remember that for the rest of my life, basically. So.